She faked a pregnancy just to keep him from leaving, not for attention, not for revenge, but because she wants to keep her boyfriend from leaving. Afraid of being forgotten, afraid of watching the only love she ever believed in slowly slip away. And for a moment, the lie worked. But lies don't stay quiet forever. What started as a desperate attempt to hold on spiraled into something she could never have imagined. This isn't just a story about heartbreak. It's about how one decision, made in the silence of a lonely night, turned into a secret she had to live with every single day. And what happened when the truth finally caught up. This is Alyssa's story, and it starts with a single, irreversible decision. Would you have done the same, just to stop someone from walking away? Alyssa didn't grow up believing in fairy tales. She grew up in Fort Worth, Texas. Her mom worked 2 jobs. Her dad wasn't around much, so she learned early not to depend on anyone. Not to hope too much, not to expect people to stay. She was the quiet one in most rooms, the observer, the one who carried herself like she didn't need anyone. And for the most part, she didn't. Until she met Jason. It was Sunday. Her best friend dragged her to a birthday barbecue she didn't even want to attend. She was standing by the cooler, scrolling through her phone, when he walked up and offered her the last ginger ale, with a crooked grin and zero shame. She rolled her eyes, took it anyway, and just like that, they started talking. They didn't talk about big things, not at first. It was music, bad reality TV, which burger place was overrated. But it felt easy, natural, like someone had quietly opened a window inside her and let a little air in. When he asked for her number, she gave it, not because she needed a relationship, but because, for the first time in a long time, she felt curious about someone. Their first real conversation lasted 3 hours. 2 weeks later, they were texting every day. By the end of the month, she couldn't picture a single day without a minute. Alyssa wasn't the type to fall hard, but Jason wasn't the type you had to guard yourself from. At least, not then. In the beginning, it was everything Alyssa thought love was supposed to be. Effortless, warm, safe. Jason didn't just show up. He stayed present. He didn't just listen. He remembered. Little things, things other people forgot. When she told him about her fear of flying, he downloaded her favorite show on his phone so they could watch it together before takeoff. When she had a stressful week at work, he left sticky notes in her car that said things like, "You're doing better than you think," and "Don't forget who you are." They weren't perfect, but they didn't need to be. They laughed about stupid things, like how Alyssa always said "orange" with a weird accent, or how Jason hated pickles but kept forgetting to ask for his burger without them. They talked about their future, not in vague someday tones, but with real intent. "When we get a place," he'd say, "we're getting a 2-bedroom, so you have your own closet." When we have kids," she'd joke, "you're changing every diaper for the first year." Sometimes, lying on the couch with the TV off and his hand resting on hers, Alyssa would catch herself wondering, is this it? Did I find the one good man who doesn't need fixing? She had her doubts, of course. She always did. But Jason made her want to believe. Not just in him, but in herself. In love. In the idea that maybe she wasn't too much to handle. They made a playlist together, one that tracked their relationship like a timeline. The first song he sent her, the one they slow danced to in her living room, the one that always made her cry, even when she didn't want to admit why. Alyssa felt like she was finally in the kind of love people talk about, the kind that sticks. She started imagining things she had never let herself imagine before, what their kids would look like, whether they'd elope in California or have a fall wedding in Chicago, whether they'd be dog people or cat people. It wasn't a fantasy. It felt real. She started to feel like maybe she could exhale, that maybe she didn't have to hold her breath waiting for it all to fall apart. But sometimes, when love starts to feel too good to be true, it's because something is already shifting. And by the time Alyssa realized that it had already begun. The shift didn't come all at once. If it had, maybe she could have braced for it. Maybe she could have pointed to the exact moment Jason stopped looking at her the way he used to. But that's not how love fades. Not in real life. It started with small things. Messages that took longer to get replies. Conversations that felt shorter. The way he'd leave her texts on, read, and then post on Instagram an hour later. The first time she noticed something was off, it was a Thursday. She called him after work, like always, but instead of his usual, "Hey baby," he answered with, "What's up?" Just that. 2 words. Flat. Distant. Like she was interrupting something. She brushed it off, told herself he must have had a bad day, maybe traffic, maybe stress. Everyone's allowed to be tired, right? But then it kept happening. When she tried to bring it up, he shrugged, said everything was fine, said she was overthinking, said she was being too emotional. She laughed it off. But it stung, because somewhere deep down, Alyssa knew something had changed. There were no fights, no cheating, no screaming, just distance. He started spending more time on his phone, more time out, less time checking in. She'd wake up some mornings and realize he hadn't called the night before, and he wouldn't even acknowledge it the next day. She started double texting, rereading their old messages to see when his tone had shifted, wondering what she did wrong, when she did it, why she didn't notice sooner. And still, she said nothing. She even Googled it one night. How do you know if your boyfriend is losing interest? And the answers made her sick, because every sign, every warning was right there. And still, she told no one, because saying it out loud would have made it real. She kept showing up, hoping that if she just loved him hard enough, he'd return to her. But deep down, Alyssa already knew. The version of Jason she fell for was slipping away. And once someone starts to go quiet on you, it doesn't take long for your own mind to start screaming. She began checking his location late at night. She started waiting to see when he'd be active on social media. She'd type messages and delete them before hitting send. Every moment became a guessing game. Is he busy, or is he ignoring me? Is he tired, or done? And the worst part was, she still loved him, even as he drifted, even as he pulled back, even as he made her feel like a guest in her own relationship. Because when you've built your entire world around someone, letting them go feels like tearing your own house down. It all started as a Google search. Like so many things do late up at night, she opened her laptop, typed into the search bar, "How to stop someone from losing interest in you." The answers were useless. Work on yourself. Don't chase. Let go if it's not meant to be. None of that helped. None of it touched the ache in her chest. None of it answered the real question. How do you make someone stay when you feel them slipping away, but they won't tell you why? She clicked another article. Then a relationship advice thread. "I faked a pregnancy, and it saved my relationship." The words hit her like a jolt. She stared at the screen for a long time. Scrolled. Read the entire article, top to bottom. A girl. Mid-20s. In love with a guy who was pulling away. Same story. Different names. The girl had used a fake test. A positive result bought online. She told her boyfriend and he came back. Said he wanted to try again. Said maybe this was their second chance. The post didn't say whether it lasted, but Alyssa wasn't thinking that far ahead. She went quiet. She closed her laptop. Tried to sleep. She couldn't. The next night, the post was still on her mind. That line stayed with her. She clicked again. This time, a tutorial. A video explaining exactly how to fake a positive test, where to order it, how it worked, what to say if he asked questions. Alyssa watched the video twice, then minimized it. then opened it again and clicked on the link in the description. Her heart was pounding. Her fingers hovered over the Add to Cart button. She didn't click it. Not yet. She just stared and thought. She wasn't thinking long-term. She wasn't thinking about consequences. She wasn't even thinking about morality. She was thinking, if this makes him come back, if this makes him stay just one more week, maybe that's enough time to fix everything. She didn't want to trap him. She didn't want a real baby. She just wanted a chance to breathe again, a chance to look into his eyes and feel seen, to feel chosen, to feel like she mattered again, until the idea, once foreign, once unthinkable, didn't feel so impossible anymore. The idea didn't scare her anymore. That was the first sign something was wrong. What used to feel unthinkable now just felt like a question waiting to be answered. Every morning, she'd wake up and glance at the tab still open on her browser. The fake test. Positive result. Guaranteed delivery. No ID required. No questions asked. She'd stare at it for minutes. Then hours. Then shut her laptop without doing anything. But her mind stayed there, even when the screen was dark. Was it wrong? Absolutely. But did it feel evil? Not really. Because in her heart, she wasn't trying to ruin his life. She wasn't trying to control him. She just wanted him to pause, to look at her again, to remember. Alyssa sat on her bed that afternoon, phone in one hand, test order page on the other, and whispered to herself, if I just do this, maybe he'll stay long enough for us to find our way back. It wasn't about trapping him. It wasn't even about the baby. It was about the chance to get back being together. She journaled about it, wrote down the pros and cons. The word, manipulation, sat alone on one line, circled 3 times. She stared at it until her eyes blurred. Then she flipped the page and wrote, I just don't want to lose him, because that was the truth. She wasn't operating from cruelty. She was operating from fear, from longing, from the unbearable thought of waking up one morning and seeing his name missing from her notifications forever. That kind of grief doesn't follow logic. It doesn't sit down and think about ethics. It reacts. She kept telling herself, this isn't forever. I'll say I lost it. I'll say it didn't stick. I just need a window. Just one more week of him being close. One more week of him caring. And then maybe I can fix it. Maybe he'll remember why we started. Her conscience screamed, this isn't love. This is fear dressed up as hope. This isn't how love works. This isn't honest. You'll lose him anyway. But her heart whispered louder. What if it's the only way? What if this is your last chance? What if it works? Alyssa couldn't tell anymore which voice was right. All she knew was the silence between them was growing wider, and her window, the one she kept telling herself still existed, was closing. That night she stared at the checkout page again, finger hovering over the button. And she said it out loud this time, for the first time. If I can just make him stay, maybe we can fix this. Then she clicked, order, and everything changed. She held the box in her hands like it might bite her. It was smaller than she expected, lighter too. Just a folded cardboard box, shipped in silence, wrapped in tape. No branding, no instructions, just one line on the side, for entertainment purposes only. It didn't feel entertaining. It felt like a loaded weapon. Inside, the fake test was already pre-marked. 2 pink lines. Permanent. Plastic. Manufactured certainty. Alyssa sat on her bedroom floor for 45 minutes before she even opened it. She didn't cry. She didn't speak. Just stared at it, like maybe, she still had a choice. But that part of her, the part that wanted to walk away from the lie, she'd been quiet lately. That night, she made tea but didn't drink it. Changed her outfit 3 times. stared at herself in the mirror, practicing how her face should look. Surprised, afraid, unsure, soft. She rehearsed the lines under her breath like she was studying for a role. I didn't want to say anything until I was sure. It's still early. I haven't told anyone else yet. I took another one this morning. It came out the same, repeating the lines, and hated herself for how easily the words came out. Not quite long, Jason arrived around 8:42 p.m. He smelled nice, putting on a cologne. She hadn't seen him in days. Her chest ached just being near him. They sat down. She barely spoke. He looked concerned, asked what was wrong. She hesitated just long enough to seem nervous, then reached into her bag and pulled out the test. She placed it on the coffee table between them. Didn't say a word. Couldn't look at him. The room felt like it held its breath. He picked up the test kit. She braced for impact. But instead, he smiled. Slow, disbelieving, almost relieved. "Wait, are you serious?" he asked, his voice soft. She nodded, unable to speak. He laughed. Not a cruel laugh, not even a nervous one, but the kind you let out when life throws you something unexpected and you're oddly okay with it. He pulled her close, held her, kissed her forehead. "Wow," he said. "Okay, this changes things, but maybe it's good. Maybe this is the thing that pulls us back together." She didn't speak. She couldn't. But she nodded, smiled, let herself fall into the safety of his arms, arms that had felt distant for weeks, now wrapping around her like they used to. For the first time in a long time, she didn't feel like she was begging for affection. It came to her, freely. He stayed the night, held her while they watched a movie they barely paid attention to, played with her hair, made her laugh. Told her he'd start looking for a new apartment closer to her place. In the morning, he made her breakfast. The day after that, he brought home prenatal vitamins, unasked. The third day, he texted her a link to a parenting article titled "Things You Shouldn't Eat in the First Trimester." She smiled at her phone for 10 minutes before bursting into quiet tears. Because it was working. The lie was working. They started going on walks again, laughing, sitting close, kissing longer. He started asking questions about how she felt. What she wanted to name the baby, if she wanted to tell her mom soon, if she thought they should start looking at cribs. She laughed along, answered everything with half-truths and gentle evasions, said it was too early, said she needed time, said she wasn't ready to go public yet. And in those moments, it almost felt real, but only almost, because underneath the returned affection was a clock. Ticking, quiet, but constant. Every kiss felt like a contract. Every touch, a ticking clock. Every question he asked was a thread she'd eventually have to unravel. She couldn't go to a doctor, couldn't fake blood work, couldn't pretend to gain weight. So she made excuses, said she'd go alone, said she was spotting, said she needed a little space. He was patient, believing, supportive, which only made it worse, because the more he loved her for something that wasn't real, the more she hated herself for needing it. The guilt wasn't sudden, it was slow, like fog settling over a familiar street. Everything looked the same, but it felt wrong. At night, she'd lie awake beside him, staring at the ceiling, same as before, but now, instead of wondering if he still loved her, she wondered what would happen when he found out. Would he leave again, hate her, never speak to her again? Would he call her crazy? Tell his friends she was unstable? Would she deserve it? And yet she said nothing, because now she wasn't just afraid of losing him. She was afraid of losing this. The way he looked at her again, the warmth, the softness, the comfort, was the version of him she'd been begging for, and the version of herself she hadn't seen in months. So she smiled when he brought her snacks, laughed when he talked about baby names, kissed him when he curled up beside her, whispering, "Maybe this was meant to be." And she said nothing. Because silence, was the only thing keeping the story alive. It's strange how fast a lie can become your new reality. At first, it's just a sentence, a pause, a moment, a test left on a table. But the moment someone believes it, you've built a new world. And now, you have to live in it. After Jason smiled, after he wrapped her in his arms and whispered that this might be a blessing, Alyssa didn't feel relief. Not really. She felt weight. Like 1,000 invisible threads had just been tied to her chest, pulling tighter with every second that passed. He was back. Affectionate, loving, gentle. He brought her snacks, texted her to check in, told her not to stress, that he had them, both of them, covered. And Alyssa? She smiled. She nodded. She let the moments pass like waves and forced herself not to drown. 3 days after the lie, Jason asked about her first ultrasound. Alyssa froze. She had prepared for this, sort of. She had read online that most women schedule their first scan between 8 to 10 weeks. So she said it was too soon. He offered to call the clinic. She told him she'd already booked it. But the wait list was long. They were behind. There were new protocols. She was on a callback list. He believed her. Why wouldn't he? That night, Alyssa downloaded different pregnancy tracker apps just to stay ahead of his questions. She memorized facts about fetal development, started referring to the baby as they, sent him updates like, week 5, tiny heart cells are starting to form. Jason loved those updates. He screenshotted them. And loved it. The strange part, he was amazing. Gentler than before, more present, asking real questions, holding her longer, picking her up from work, offering to cook dinner. And the more he cared, the more she hated herself. Because none of it was for her. It was for someone who didn't exist. Every night, Alyssa lay in bed calculating timelines. How long could she keep this up? How soon would he expect a belly? How would she fake a miscarriage? What kind of bleeding would be believable? Could she cry on command? She read forums, searched how to explain missed miscarriage without going to the hospital. Quote, some posts said spotting could be faked with beet juice or food coloring. One woman claimed she used photoshopped sonograms to stretch the lie another 3 weeks. Alyssa felt sick reading it. Not just because others had done the same, but because she was taking notes. She didn't want to lie anymore, but the truth felt nuclear. Every new memory Jason made, every photo he saved, every future plan he mentioned, every kiss he gave her stomach, was another brick in the wall she'd built around herself. And the scariest part? Some part of her liked it. Liked the way he looked at her now. Liked being needed. Liked not feeling invisible. But the cost was rising, and her soul was breaking under the weight. Because pretending to be pregnant was supposed to keep her from losing him. But every lie, every excuse, made her feel like she was losing herself instead. And Alyssa? She smiled. She nodded. She let the moments pass like waves and forced herself not to drown. It's a strange thing, to lie to someone you love and still feel like the one who's being betrayed. But that's exactly what happened. By now, Alyssa was deep inside the performance, weeks into her fake pregnancy. Her life scheduled around false symptoms, fake appointments, and emotional landmines she couldn't escape. And Jason seemed happy. He brought her snacks she didn't eat, held her hand through cramps she faked, told her he'd build the crib himself when the time came. She felt like she was suffocating, but she told herself it was worth it. Because even if the relationship was built on a lie, at least it was hers. Until she picked up his phone. It was by accident, or maybe it wasn't. He was in the shower. His phone lit up. A text. A name she didn't recognize. Tasha. She didn't mean to read it, but her fingers moved faster than her fear. What she saw made her blood go cold. "I know, babe. Once this pregnancy stuff is over, I'm done with her. Promise." It took her a moment to understand what she was reading. Then it hit. He wasn't staying because he believed in them. He wasn't building a future. He was waiting, enduring, playing along, just long enough to walk away clean. Alyssa's body went still, then hot, then shaky. She read the rest. Late-night texts, inside jokes, screenshots of baby memes with captions like, "This could have been us, but I pulled out." Photos, a selfie of her in his hoodie, a voice note from him saying, "Don't worry, I'm not touching her. I'm just trying to make it look good." Heh. She felt sick. Not fake sick. Not pretend cramps or scheduled nausea. This was real. Her ears rang. Her fingers went numb. Her throat closed in. When he came out of the shower, towel wrapped around his waist, smiling like nothing had happened. She asked one question. "Who is Tasha?" His face changed. The charm dropped. He didn't deny it, didn't even flinch. He just looked at her, cold, flat, and said, "Don't go through my phone." The fight that followed, was the ugliest moment of her life. He called her insecure, controlling, crazy. She called him a monster, a liar, a coward who couldn't even walk away without pretending to care. He laughed, said, "What are you gonna do, cry yourself into a miscarriage?" She slapped him. He didn't even blink. That night, he left. No goodbye, no apology, just slammed the door and took the last piece of her with him. Alyssa curled up in bed, alone, empty, and finally free. But it didn't feel like freedom. It felt like everything she'd fought for, everything she'd lied for, had been a performance in a play he never even watched. She wasn't just betrayed, she was discarded. And somewhere deep in that shame was the bitter, hollow echo of her own lie. When someone leaves you angry, at least there's something to hold on to. But when someone leaves you in silence, completely erases you, it's like being buried alive. That's what Jason did. Blocked her number, deleted her off every app, vanished from their shared playlists, their photo memories, even the shared grocery list they never got around to deleting. He was just gone. And Alyssa? She was left with a lie she no longer needed. A story with no audience. She didn't plan it. She just couldn't carry it anymore. So one night, 2 weeks after he left, she posted a photo on Instagram. Just a blurry window, rain on the glass, and a caption. "Some goodbyes are deeper than others." Most people didn't get it, but he would, if he saw it. Then she sent one final message to him. "There's no baby. I lost it. Just so you know." She deleted the text thread before she could see the response. No flowers, no messages, no calls. She had faked a pregnancy to keep someone, then faked a miscarriage to release him. And in the end, nobody came. She tried to open up to a friend, a real one, someone she'd known since college. She confessed it all, the fake test, the updates, the forums, the fear, the lie, the love. Her friend stared at her like a stranger, said, "You need help," like serious help, and walked away. That was the last time they spoke. Alyssa stayed inside for days. Didn't eat, didn't check the mail, let dishes rot in the sink. The apps on her phone went untouched. Even the music felt loud and wrong. She cried, then stopped, then cried again. Not because she wanted Jason back, but because she didn't recognize who she was anymore. She had lied, but she wasn't a liar. She had manipulated, but she wasn't heartless. She had chased love, but ended up grieving someone who never truly existed. One night, staring into her own tired eyes in the bathroom mirror, she whispered, "I did all this because I thought I wasn't enough." And hearing it out loud broke something open. The next morning, she made the appointment. Therapy wasn't magic. It didn't erase the lie, didn't rebuild friendships, didn't bring closure from Jason. But it gave her something she hadn't felt in months, a mirror without judgment. She talked, cried, laughed sometimes, dug deep into wounds that had nothing to do with Jason and everything to do with being abandoned at 10, being cheated on at 19, being told by too many people that her love was too much. She learned that her mistake didn't come from malice. It came from fear, and fear can trick even the strongest hearts. Week by week, she started showing up for herself, unfollowed people who didn't serve her, deleted the fake pregnancy apps, cleaned her apartment, started journaling, not to track lies, but to tell the truth. Some days were harder than others, but the lie no longer ran her life. She began to realize it wasn't about him. It never was. It was about what she thought she lacked, about a girl who never believed she was lovable without conditions. And for the first time in a long time, she began to believe that maybe she was. By the time spring came around, Alyssa felt lighter, stronger. She still had scars, but they didn't bleed anymore. She was moving on, until her period didn't come. By April, things were finally quiet. Not perfect, not happy. But still. Alyssa had started breathing differently, walking slower, making her own tea instead of ordering it on delivery apps. She went entire afternoons without checking Jason's page. She wasn't healed, but she was healing. And then, one morning, she felt sick. Not heartbreak sick. Not can't sleep, can't eat, can't stop replaying. What happened? Kind of sick. This was different. She tried to ignore it. Blamed it on anxiety. Hormones. That new protein smoothie her therapist said might help with mood. But by the third day, she knew. She walked into the drugstore like a ghost, grabbed the test with the same hand that once clicked, order on the fake one. Only this time, no lies, no planning, no script. She peed on the stick, waited, and was shocked when she saw the signs. Pregnant. This time, it was real. No test ordered off shady websites. No scheme. No audience. Just her, alone in her bathroom, 3 months after the man she tried to keep disappeared. She stared at the result for 10 minutes. It didn't change. She was pregnant, with Jason's baby, after all the lies, after the emotional fallout, after faking symptoms, then faking loss, after being ghosted, laughed at, abandoned. Now this. She didn't know what to do, didn't know who to tell, or whether to tell him at all. Would he even believe her? Did he deserve to know? Would this child, this innocent, unborn life, carry the weight of both their mistakes? Or could it be something new? Something honest? Something redemptive? Alyssa sat back on the bathroom floor, test still in hand, and said quietly to no one, "What now?" This was never the ending she imagined. But maybe it wasn't an ending at all. Alyssa didn't plan any of this. She didn't plan to fall that hard. She didn't plan to lie. And she definitely didn't plan to actually be pregnant, not after everything fell apart. But life has a strange sense of irony. She faked a pregnancy to keep someone she loved, and lost him. Now, months later, she's carrying his child, for real. No script this time. No performance. Just truth. Complicated, raw, terrifying truth. And here's the thing. There is no manual for what comes next. Should she tell him? Does he deserve to know after everything? Should she raise the child alone, start fresh, become the mother she never had? Or should she just let it all go? Bury the past, move on, and never look back? What would you do if you were Alyssa? If the lie became your truth, and the person you hurt was the same person who betrayed you, would you open that door again, or would you keep walking forward alone? Drop your advice in the comments. Your words could enlighten someone who needs it right now. Because sometimes, the heaviest decisions are the ones we carry in silence. This was Alyssa's story, a mistake she have to live with forever. But maybe, just maybe, it's also a new beginning. If Alyssa's story touched something in you, don't scroll past in silence. Share your thoughts in the comments. Your words might help someone feel seen. Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because the next story might be the one you need to hear. This is True Life Mistake Stories, where the truth gets messy, but healing begins with honesty. Thanks for listening,